throw that in there.
Code.
You got to.
Hold on. All right, so this is episode 4 of Ask the CEO, Ask the Boss, Ask Doug, ask whatever you want. Anyway, so today we have a special guest. This is IFPA Pro Marshall Johnson, the Marshall Johnson. Say hello to the interwebs.
Hi, guys and gals.
See the stylish new? These are Nutrition Corner Flex Fit caps. See, Marshall's got the black.
I'm kicking the black.
So if you want one of these, call Patrick at A&C. These are sweet hats.
They're nice.
703-465-0202. Pat,
Nice.
You can thank me later.
Nice work.
That reminds me of Spiegel 60609, which is a place you used to order clothes from in Chicago. That's where my mom got clothes from.
See
Now,
the
it's
type of
crazy
things that we
stuff
have to
I
worry
remember.
about when Marshall
You know what I'm
stops
saying?
by?
But, hey, this is important
You know,
stuff.
this video is probably...
This is why I can't get work done around
This
here.
video is probably going to be an hour and a half long when usually it's like 12 minutes. Okay, so
Product update.
today we're going to do two things. One is first is a product update, and then we're going to go through a couple of your questions. So product update. Number 1, Core Fury Extreme, the new version. Same flavors, but we've actually been able to improve on that flavoring system with the tweaks that we made to the formula. There's 2 tweaks to the formula. One is we removed picomelon because basically the FDA was coming down on that ingredient. Whether or not that's, no comment there.
Gonna happen now.
We had to switch that out. The other thing that we did is we changed from synephrine HCl to Advantra Z, which is a patented form of natural synephrine. So it actually has different isomers of synephrine, and it even hits you even better. And then L-theanine actually does the same thing. So picomelon was like a relaxing agent. L-theanine also has that. So basically, it's why it can be a very high stim product, which it is, but it doesn't make you jittery. It kind of gives you that more of that relaxation, like that euphoric feeling.
Yeah.
So the new formula is awesome. It's in the warehouse today. All the pre-orders that were ordered online are going out today and tomorrow, and then all the retail accounts orders are going out today. So all your favorite retailers, Tiger Fitness, bodybuilding.com, they'll all have Fury, I would say midweek next week. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Core Z's.
Oh.
This was an interesting update. You don't know about this. So
Okay.
Core Z's has been in production for a while. Labels are done. Everything's at the warehouse. They were going through everything's at the manufacturing facility. They were going through some of the pre-testing that we do. This is an NSF CGMP certified facility. And one of the things that they test for is moisture. And so one of the ingredients, which was zinc that we use in this, came back with a high moisture content.
Okay.
So people were like, oh, well, that's not a big deal. And it's not a clumping issue, but it really is a big deal because the reason why they test for moisture in H2O is because if that comes back high, that's a recipe for bacteria growth.
Okay.
So
Good
they
deal.
basically got that pre-tested. That ingredient didn't pass our quality controls. And so they went back to the manufacturer. The manufacturer for that ingredient only had that lot in stock. So we basically had to go out and resource it. So Core Z's has been delayed. We're still hoping for it to be done in about mid-January. So I'm still hoping for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So the Z's will be the next product to hit. Shortly after that, we're going to have Core Grow is scheduled to run like the 20 the 20-something of January. So we'll be doing a lot of pre-sales and things like that on our website this year. We're going to be doing a lot more marketing through our direct website. So we'll be doing special deals and promos, but obviously all our retailers will have it as well. So late January for Core Grow, late January for a revised version of Pump. As I mentioned before, Pump was in the small containers, and it was kind of clumpy, and that's because the ingredients are so hydrophilic. We found a way to make the product flow better, manufacture better, and not clump. So it's going to be in the taller Fury containers. Those labels are being printed next Thursday, and then they go right to manufacturer. We're on track for those to be made within the next 3 weeks.
Cool.
So that will be right around Core Grow time too. So
Yeah.
Pump and Grow. And then also in the works, probably the beginning of February, we have the new Burn Ultra, which is an awesome powder fat burner. This is going to be huge for our Australian friends.
Yeah.
We use some of the same stimulant bases that we use in the Fury. It has the Advantra Z and the Pure Energy, which are 2 patented ingredients. So it gives you this incredible euphoric feeling
Good stuff.
without the crash. And the flavoring is awesome. Some
Yeah.
people didn't necessarily like our tea flavoring that we have for the
Right.
peach and the blueberry Burn Ultra now. Well, the flavoring is awesome. It's raspberry lemonade and mango.
Oh.
So that will be like
Good stuff.
mid-February. Then finally, the one that I'm really excited about is Core Test.
Yeah.
We're bringing Core Test back in a powdered form so our Australian friends can have it too. This is going to be the best test booster on the market.
Oh man!
You know, this is gonna. Yeah, he's getting plumped up just thinking about it. See him angling closer to the camera.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to
you
get
see
it.
that
I'm
too?
watching I gotta turn sideways on him so I can get my tries and buys in there.
So, Core Test is basically a powdered fat test booster. You're going to be able to stack it with alpha. So it's not the same ingredients, but it has test boosting agents, anti-estrogens. It's just an amazing product. We have actually had a finalized formula, and then after further research on one of the ingredients, we didn't like some of the newest research that came out. Okay. So we're actually in the process of swapping that out for another ingredient. That should be done by the end of this week. I'm hoping that's going to be mid-February as well, definitely before the Arnold. Right. So Core Test. And then down the line, I haven't even mentioned this yet, or maybe I have, is we're tweaking Core PWO, our post-workout. Okay. We have some real exciting new ingredients that we're going to put in there. It's obviously the protein and the carb base. The carb base will change a little bit. It's still always a whey isolate, but we have some really cool glucose disposal agents and other things that we're going to be doing with PWO. So that's going to be like 6 months, from now. Okay, that's the product updates. Take it away.
Questions.
Questions.
Awesome stuff.
First question's for Marshall Johnson.
For me? Oh
Yeah.
man.
You ready?
Okay.
It's from Marshall?
This is for Marshall.
Okay.
For Marshall.
Yep.
Okay.
From
I'll plead the fifth if I don't know it.
Ben Drake Brockman.
Okay.
How much juice is fake 90 juice if fake 90 doesn't do juice?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to think on that one. Let's see here. If Peter Piper picked the peppers, how many?
Who is that? Who asked that question?
Peter Piper picked.
At Ben
Good,
Drake
right?
Brockman.
Ah.
Ben Drake Brockman. Thank you for that.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Okay, first question. I got a couple questions in regards of HIIT. So from at Luke Robinson Fitness, what is your opinion on circuit training as a form of cardio? And then somebody else at What I Want When I Want It. Also, what are your opinions on high intensity interval training?
So the first was circuit training for cardio.
Circuit training for cardio.
I think probably Marshall and I, we might have different. I mean, this guy's always doing cardio. He's got ankle weights on, like going to work. So, I mean, he's got. Yeah. So, well, I'll let Marshall answer too. My take on it is, I leave the weights for the weights, and I leave the cardio machines for the cardio. So, and what I mean by that is circuit training. Yeah, it burns calories, but I'm not doing a resistance training for my cardio, if that makes sense. So I'm not a plyometrics guy, right? I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Right.
I'm strictly doing, treadmill, bike, stuff like that. Now, in terms of interval training, with my clients, I use a mix of high-intensity interval training and low-intensity steady state for cardio. I think there's benefits to both, and that mix depends on the person. For me personally, I only do LIST cardio, low-intensity steady state. I don't do HIIT cardio at all. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is I leave it all on the weight training floor. And so when I, am done weight training, I put all my intensity into that. I don't want to have to worry about putting all my intensity into the cardio. So, for example, like if I, getting ready for a show, I like to do cardio first thing in the morning. I don't want to wipe myself out doing HIIT and then have a half-ass workout during the weights. Right. So I'm doing more of a steady state cardio just to get that calorie burn, get the heart rate up, earlier in the morning. Not on a fasted state. I'll do a whey isolate and some BCAAs, so I don't believe in fasted cardio. But for me, it's totally, low intensity steady state. I never do HIIT. But that's just for me. My clients, I would say 90% of my clients do a combination of both.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm pretty similar. I'll just say this. I do cardio in the morning, and like Doug is saying, if you want to call it fasted state or not, I do. I typically hit the ABCs, so it's really not a fasted because I have that first thing, but it's without food, and I enjoy it. But I do separate the times when I'm gonna do cardio, so I don't do a interval training or circuit training to use. If I go at it and I get kind of a consistency of both. If I get some cardio in there, my heart rate is up, that's great, but that's not what I'm targeting. So I'm definitely setting aside a separate time to get that in. And then as far as HIIT, I do more of a high intensity kind of resistance. I just believe in keeping that my muscle as opposed to where Doug's doing a list. I do that too when I'm getting ready for a show right there at the end. I'm just kind of walking it out but I use my cardio as kind of my workout too, because I'm down low driving, really getting my legs to get that separation in there. So very similar.
Cool. All right. Question number 2. We're going to do.
But he wears Jane Fonda leg warmers and socks when he's doing it.
I'm getting ready to post something here shortly. It's funny because I'm going to do this, give you a little bit of insight into my cardio when I'm kicking it, when I'm getting down and getting on it, kick the hat sideways, I'm riding hard, so Doug doesn't know anything about that, but I'm going to school him on it, so watch for that video here in the next week or so, getting into the new year to show you how we roll.
All right, at Jord542, Jord, what mobility and stretching work do you do on a consistent basis?
Not enough. I wish I had all the time in the world.
Every bodybuilder will tell you that.
I mean, it's boring, but you got to do it. And so my big thing is I set aside once a week, every week, I do active release therapy, which is ART therapy, half an hour session with my chiropractor. So he's whatever ache and pain I have, he's working out scar tissue. Like today it was my knee, and he stretched out my back, did some upper back adjustments. So that's once a week, every week. Then yesterday was my once every 2 weeks. I do Thai massage. Now, if you haven't had Thai massage, it is insane. It's not like deep tissue. It's like you're on the floor on a mat. You're in your clothes.
Okay.
And basically somebody's putting you in a figure 4, leg lock for an hour and a half. So I do it for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And it is crazy. My flexibility since I started doing it a couple years ago.
But did it hurt initially? I mean, was it?
It hurts now. I mean, so I've been having a really bad forearm issue.
I've got the same thing right here.
It's got to the point where it hurts so bad that you have to go to another place.
Right.
And I tell Tiffany, who's my masseuse, I was like, we got to videotape this because the things that I say just out of nowhere, just it's like
having a baby for you ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yes, no, God,
yeah.
I love you. No, I hate you.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly like that. So maybe one of these days I'll try to get some. Maybe next time I'll try to get some video of the Thai massage session. But it's insane. And then obviously PVC pipe rolling. Some stretching. I try to do stretching on my days off, on my cardio days. After doing cardio, I'll stretch. But really, I try to do it after my workout. But really, I don't do enough. I still need to be doing more stretching, after training. I'm not a believer in doing it before training. Yeah. I could always do more.
So I concur. 100%.
You got to get with my time.
I got to check that out for real.
It's good.
I need some of that.
Okay. I like this question because I got 2 of the top natural bodybuilders in the world standing up here. So, from at Blaine Likens, what is the best advice you can give to a natural bodybuilder who is looking to compete in 2016 for the first time?
How old is he? Do we have an age?
We don't have an age.
Click on his profile.
It's very confusing.
So my first advice, I would just say, maybe 2016 isn't the year. I know this is awful, and I say it to a lot of people. And Marshall's different because he competes like every other month for all year round. But, I think people should maybe wait a little bit longer before stepping on stage.
The person looks pretty young.
Yeah, if they're young, if you're under 25, take your time. If you don't think you're ready, give yourself another year to grow. You're in the optimal training ages. Once you get to be 36 and 97, you have to compete a little bit more.
Yes, you got to stay.
No, so at that point, you're not really in your prime for your growth. So I can see, why Marshall is. Your clock's ticking. Right? And my clock's ticking too.
I took off 10 years, so it's like
you got to get it in.
I got to get it done.
Yeah, so I totally understand that. But when you're 20 years old, you got. Your prime is you're still ways away. So give your time to grow. I don't recommend any teenager dieting. Dieting down. I think that's a big mistake and can set you up for kind of failure later on, because that's when your testosterone levels are at the highest, right? So why would you want to blunt that by dieting and basically starving yourself? Right. You're just going to inhibit your growth. So first, in a long story, that was a long way of saying that maybe just take a little extra time. Other advice is do your research on your shows. There's so many organizations out there, and they all put on, somewhat decent shows, but it really comes down to the promoter of the shows. So, I mean, you can have a great INBF show or OCB show, or you could have a terrible INBF show and OCB show. It all comes down to the promoter. So I really recommend looking at past shows and going to some shows to kind of see what you're expecting. So if you you're not disappointed with a show, and you sign up for a show and you have like 12 competitors. That's no fun. Try to look for some of those shows that have been out there for a while, and that have really good feedback.
I agree.
And give yourself a long time to diet. If you think it's going to take you 16 weeks to get ready, take 20 or 24. Yeah. You can always reverse diet into the show. You can always adjust. Things come up. You might have to be shipped off somewhere for 2 weeks, and your diet goes to crap.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen. So I definitely recommend giving yourself plenty of time.
I agree. I would add to that and say, or what Doug is saying, definitely look, go to shows and, see what other competitors look like, see how the judging goes, and you can kind of look at it and determine who you thought was first, second, third, fourth, and, it's subjective, but it's going to be, it's going to be pretty close on the money. Sometimes things are real tight, but it gives you an idea as to what you're trying to prepare for. Yeah. If you go into something trying to prepare for something you don't know what you're preparing for, then you are at a disadvantage. So start looking at when I came back and after 10 years off, I was looking at all the pictures. I was seeing the Doug Millers and the Ricardos, and I was like, good night. So I knew going in, got to drop the hammer.
He knew going in he was going to have to severely up his dose.
I was going to have to up the dose. And listen, I'm probably low in testosterone. If I was actually right where I need to be, trust me, Doug would be like, dude, what do you want? But, I'm kidding.
I would also say if it's your first competition, to definitely do your research on maybe hiring a coach.
Well, that was the next.
That was the other thing. Yes.
Find somebody who's been through it and who knows what they're doing, and work with them, work with Marshall, work with myself, work with Patrick. We could all help you.
Absolutely.
Phone's ringing.
This is real time. Take the phone call.
Thanks for calling Arlington Nutrition Corner. This is Patrick.
Hear that customer service.
Doing business.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he told me that you might give me a call. All right.
Excellent.
Should we just sit here and relax?
Okay.
Doug's trying to outswole me. Is that a word? Outswole me?
It can be.
Yeah, we make our own words up.
Yeah.
it's kind of like when rap songs, they kind of say the word, but then you ad lib a little bit to make it work.
More like George Bush, right?
Well, I don't know about that. You might be alluding to something. I'm not.
Oh no, all his words that he would come up with back in the day.
Yes.
George Bush would come up with like strategery.
Oh, hey,
like
that's the word.
Strategery.
No.
Okay. All right, we're gonna take a little break. We'll be right back for the last question. All right, we're back
on the scene.
Yes,
stiff
sir.
And clean.
How do you focus?
He's not even drinking the pre-workout.
Those are old school terms. Back on the scene, spiffy and clean, running all the dope fiends. Me and Dougie fresh. So we're ready to roll. Come on, Patrick.
Okay,
oh my gosh.
Last question.
Give us
Good
some love,
Lord.
brother.
All right.
Me and Dougie.
From @Christopher Barracat. All right. So, what are your thoughts on today's most common trends in natural bodybuilding in terms of training? It seems that powerlifting or power building is what's in, and training like an old school bodybuilder is deemed bro. What do you think are the positive and negatives to that approach? So, I guess the question is like.
Well, I mean, I think people know me and kind of my style, and have heard me talk before. I'm a bro when it comes to training, so I try not to overthink. Oh, I got to go in here today and I got to do 7 sets of 3 at 64% of my max, and stuff like that. Overcomplicate. Right. So I'm a total bro. So not to sound cliche here, but it's like I go in there and I crush it, and then I get out. Right? I don't overthink it with. All these different, formulas and, stuff like that. Now, with that being said, I think there is definitely some benefit for the powerlifting moves. I'm squatting, I'm deadlifting, but I'm doing it in a higher hypertrophy range than, let's say a strength range. And I'm not necessarily doing that same exercise over and over. I mean, a lot of people who train for powerlifting part of it is the neurological adaptation, which is causing them to, your body knows how to squat because you've done it so many times.
Sure,
and
sure.
right, so it's just kind of building up that way. You know, I'm not squatting 3 times a week. You know, I'm not deadlifting 3 times a week or anything like that. Now, I think that having those in your routine is...
Are we still on? Just checking.
Yeah, we're on. We're good.
Okay.
I think having those in your routine is really important, but I don't train like, you know, a power lifter. Now, that's not to say you can't train like a power lifter and have a great physique. I mean, obviously, you look at the guys, right? Like Lane Norton's a perfect example, right? He's got a great physique, and he trains like a power lifter, right?
And he is.
You know, but you know, he's a better power lifter than he is a bodybuilder. And if you kind of look at all the people out there, I mean, you can say science this, science that.
Right.
You know, there's the best bodybuilders have trained like bodybuilders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hypertrophy range. I'm a big believer in higher reps. You know,
Sure.
Higher sets. And I think the proof is kind of in the pudding there. And I think some people are too. They try to complicate things too much. So bottom line is I train like a bro. I do a lot of bro splits. I mean, I train one body part a week, you know, as I talked about in one of the episodes before, one body part a day, you know, for the whole week. And I just train it one time.
Sure.
And, you know, a lot of the science out there will say that, oh, you should stimulate your muscles, you know, training a body part 2-3 times a week, and that's better for hypertrophy. But if, you know, proof is in the pudding. I've done all the splits, and I've seen what kind of works best for me. And there's a lot of people that train with success, training just once a week, those body parts.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, just because you only train your shoulders once a week doesn't mean you aren't training your shoulders when you're hitting back or chest or, you know, other things. So I really, you know, I've been doing this now for 18, 19 years now. So, you know, I've kind of, you know, done pretty much everything, and I can you know, I know what works, and, you know, I always go back to training like a bro. I train instinctually. You know, I love going in there and getting a pump. I love going in there and moving heavy weight, but I'm not, you know, worried about formulas and things like that.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm right on target with you, Doug. Matter of fact, it's going to vary with age. I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah.
How are you going to train? I never go in there and ego train. That's not me. At 55, you know, I'm trying to stay injury free and really.
At 36, I'm trying to stay injury free. I mean, and honestly, the difference between 30 and 32 and 34 and 36, it's, you know, I feel like I continue to get better.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I notice is that if I get hurt, it takes me twice as long to recover than when you're younger.
Yes.
So, like, I just tweaked my back in the beginning of October. I still feel it a little bit now. Before, it would have taken me a month to come back. Now it's 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely important. If I'm not feeling something, I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
So, and that's something that you definitely learn with age.
Yeah,
you know, because I remember... I remember training at this one gym in Silver Spring, and I was doing squats, and I was like bouncing and, you know, doing all this stuff. And like these older guys were like, you know, man, you know, you're gonna pay for it when you're 50 or, you know, whatever. And I'm like, old guys, whatever, bounce. And now I'm that guy rolling and you know, stretching out.
Exactly. I tell you what.
So it changes. So if you can do that early, when you're in your 20s and teen years, have somebody teach you that. You know, to kind of warm up and keep things under control and not ego lift. That's important.
That's huge, especially for bodybuilding. We're talking bodybuilding here. You know, the name of the game here is longevity.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be able to train, and that's how you're going to build muscle. You can train safely, and whatever works. I never get caught up with. You know, when I started back. Initially, I wasn't on Facebook, so I didn't have all the negativity. I'll just use that term loosely, you know, where you have so much information, you get a paralysis of analysis. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I just went back. I started. I have an old school book. I looked at that. I just put my routine back together.
So did you literally not work out for 10 years?
I wasn't really working out at all. My
for
wife
how many years?
For about almost 10, about 10 years.
So you competed in bodybuilding shows up until what age?
40, about 40.
40, and then you stopped.
40 to 50. And so you're going in, you know, initially you're going in, getting time in.
So was that break?
And then it kind of tapers off. Life, house, riding Harleys, all those kind of things.
Here's a funny story. My very first show, and we didn't realize this till years later until we.
Oh, this is funny.
My very first show was the 2002 INBF Presidential Cup. It was Matt Shepley, who's the head of the OCB.
Yeah.
It was his first show, but it was actually an INBF
Was
show.
it?
and then he didn't like how that whole went down, and then he started his next show was OCB.
Oh,
so there's
okay,
a little history
okay.
for you.
Yeah, I
so
know we were in that
2002
show
Presidential
together,
Cup in
didn't know each other.
Gaithersburg.
Yes.
You know, I'm just this little skinny white boy in the novice. You know, my first show, I had no idea what to expect, and I just remember seeing all these monsters backstage, right? And you know, Marshall was one of those guys battling, you know, in the open class. I was like, man, that's crazy. You know, how can they be drug free, right? You know, and so. Yeah, I mean, and that was our first show, but we didn't really realize it until years later, and our paths crossed again. And then we went back and we looked at the pictures. We're like, sure enough, that was the same show.
Yeah.
Now, was that show like one of the last before you took a hiatus?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I don't.
Because that's now
was that
14 years ago.
Okay, so it was close. I think I took hiatus in about 2002.
Yeah, so that was probably one of your last shows before you then you stopped training.
I won an overall. There was just a couple natural bodybuilding shows that starting to come out, and one was with Dave Grogan. I ended up winning his overall.
The Muscle Mania?
No, I actually judged that show, but he had another show. I forget the acronym.
Here's the history. This is why this video can go on for like.
Yeah,
you want
got some good.
You want to
stuff
talk bodybuilding history? This is the guy. This is the guy for it
in our back pocket. But after I did that show, won that show, I was like, well, what do I do with this pro card? I had no idea. So, you know.
So what was your first show when you came back?
The first show when I came back was actually a USBF show.
In like 2010-ish?
11? I think it was 2011.
Okay.
2011, because this is, I'm going on my.
Yeah, so you're like,
11,
you took a 9-year hiatus?
Yeah, right at 10 years. So coming back, I had to really jump on it. That's why I don't get too hung up on just so, if I've been off 10 years and you take off 2 weeks, trust me, it's not going to hurt you. You take time off, do what you need to do. You know, with all this beast mode, and I understand that, everybody's gung-ho, and dude, no days off. I'm like, dude, I'm taking off this week. You know, if the body says you need to take off, you got to take off. That's all there is to it. Understand that.
You know, most of the time he crushes it, but sometimes he just mushes it, right?
I'm even crushing it when I'm not crushing it. That's the difference. Crushing it means that whatever state you find yourself in, you make the best of it. So you crush it, whether you're resting, whether you're training, you know, but the reality of it is, yes, sometimes I'm mushing it a little bit. But you can do that too.
Yeah, sure. Everyone needs a little mushing.
You need it.
All right, guys, thanks for your questions. We'll be back next week, which will be the first in the new year's. So we'll see you then. Thanks a lot, guys.
See ya.
Crush it.
Yes.